I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Board of Leavenworth County Commission. Would like everyone to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank everyone for coming to the meeting. I really enjoy public participation in our meetings. I'd like to open up with public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to speak at this time, please come forward, state your name and address. There'll be public comment available we'll have it during these planning and zoning issues. So if you have something that's related to the planning and zoning cases, we will allow public comment in that. So seeing none, we'll move on to administrative business. Do we have any?
Yes, we do have one item. According to Roger Marr's contract, he is paid as a contract employee for additional work, for instance, the tax sale. But statutorily, we need to pay him through payroll. So we would just need a motion to use the same salary, the same contract, but pay Roger Marrs for the tax sale through payroll.
I have no problem. I move that we approve transferring Roger's salary to payroll.
Second. Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You have anything, Mark?
No, I just let the board know that the interim county counselor is busy in a hearing this morning, so won't be in the meeting today.
Okay. Are we going to have anything that's going to require legal counsel?
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows?
I see next week we have Public Works up here. Were we going to be discussing the dust control on 179th at that time? Or do we?
I think we have that number back. That was they came in. That's the project that we're working on correctly. I think it was just under $5,000.
Yeah. It should be. It should be 4,000 and something.
$4,700 or something like that. So
Okay.
I think I asked the clerk if there was funds available.
What I would suggest is we do have money put aside for 179th Street in capital improvement, and I believe that we should take the $4,000 out of that line item.
And we can take it out of the project
Okay.
funds. I'm sure we'll be.
Okay. You want to do that now then?
We
Sure,
certainly can. We already have the number. We've looked at the.
Okay.
Just if you'd like to do that, we can take care of that now.
Okay.
I move approval of payment of that fee from
Project, capital.
project.
Okay. I'll second that. And voting?
Aye.
Aye. And then we had another accident on 155th and Fairmount. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
So that seems to be a high accident intersection. I don't know if it's a high-risk rural road, something that could be looked into, or something the county engineer could look at.
I can definitely have
for-
look into that. Bring that.
I mean, I drive that intersection all the time. I don't see any problems, but there just seems to be a lot of accidents.
Well, I think the big thing is when you have an accident there, it's kind of a higher profile because of the speed differentiation. I mean, anytime you have somebody come through there at 50 plus miles an hour.
I'm sure it's on his radar because, like I said, it has more accidents than most intersections. So.
I'll have them just pull some information on that and have it available for you.
Okay. All righty.
Is there currently a stop sign there at the intersection?
Yeah, it's a.
We've made some improvements.
Yeah.
We put like a double posted stop ahead.
Yeah.
Clear, cut some brush and stuff, but
Yeah,
it's a wide open intersection.
I mean, Fairmount obviously is coming through there, and they're, like I said, they're probably going 50 plus miles an hour, and then you have the 155th that goes through. There's a paved road through there, so there is just a stop sign. So, but I'll have the county engineer
Okay.
review that and give you a report on accident counts and if there's any suggested remedies.
Okay, I guess. Do we have any other administrative business this time?
Wants me to come down to that hearing.
Seeing none?
Okay.
So, I'll be back.
All right, Commissioner, have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
I have. I move approval.
Second, voting?
Aye.
Aye. And have you looked at the agenda for next week?
I move approval.
I'll second that. Voting?
Aye.
Aye. And got some OCBs to sign.
A motion to what, sir?
OCBs?
Oh,
Yes.
wouldn't want to miss that.
No, sir.
I move approval of the OCBs and authorize the chairman to sign the same.
Second, voting?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Mr. Cosby's late, so let's take him off the agenda. So, I guess we're ready for planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The case this morning is case number DEB-17-073 and 074, a preliminary and final plat for Bittersweet Ranch. The property owner is Robert Oxley and his agent is Joe Herring. The property owner is requesting a preliminary and final plat for a two-lot subdivision at the southwest corner of 187th and Hollingsworth. This proposed subdivision meets the regulations of the Leavenworth County zoning and subdivision regulations. All of the proposed lots meet the required lot width to lot depth ratio and minimum road frontage for this rural residential 5 zoning class. Public Works has requested that Lot 1 not have access to Tonganoxie Drive. And additionally, Public Works has requested that buildings located within the proposed right-of-way be torn down. Several buildings on Lot 1 do not meet the required building setback line, so therefore an exception is required. The Water District has confirmed that service is available via a 2-inch line. Emergency Management recommends a fire hydrant be placed at the northeast corner of the plat. However, the current water line cannot support the fire hydrant. The Planning Commission voted 7-1 with 1 absent to recommend approval of this case, subject to 7 conditions. 1, which I want to bring to your attention, number 6, which is an exception for existing buildings located within the 105-foot building setback line, be granted with this approval. However, existing buildings that are located within the 40-foot platted right-of-way must be removed prior to the recording of this plat. The agent is here today and can answer any questions.
How many buildings have to be torn down?
That would be 1 building.
One barn that's been there forever. It's currently not in the right-of-way, but when the county gets additional right-of-way, it puts it in the right-of-way. So the county created the problem. I don't see where the property owner should have to tear down a building because Lot 1 is an existing home, correct?
Correct.
Lot 2 will have their driveway on Tonganoxie Road. This barn is on 187th Street. So I'm a property rights supporter, and so I don't agree with it. Mr. Herring?
Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North 5th Street. I appreciate that statement that we did bring it up to the Planning Commission that night to leave the barn there until the road is improved, and then the property owners would move the barn at their cost. But I did talk to them afterwards, and they do use the barn and stores agriculture equipment, and they feed their horses out of it, so they would like to keep it there. In looking at the situation a little more, the building is not in current right-of-way. There's 20 foot of right-of-way existing. To the east, there's 40 feet of right-of-way already dedicated, so there's a total of 60. If this would be a low-volume road, I think current standards now ask for 60 foot of right-of-way. It has all the right-of-way they need to improve that road. So I think that either go with the first recommendation of leaving the barn until it is improved and then it just exists in the right of way, or don't dedicate any additional right of way at this time. And then the county has no liability of a.
Well, I agree with additional right-of-way where you access. And the road that you're building your house on, there's several properties that have roads on 2 sides. This one has it on 3. And I don't,
Yeah, I agree. With that case, you could question.
you're being held
the right of
hostage
way.
to get a building permit unless you give us this right-of-way.
You could even question the right of way on Hollingsworth. You have all the county property in
Right.
the north and all the room in the world to move that road. But Lot 2, you did make a statement earlier, Lot 2 is going to access 187th Street.
Oh, it is? It's not gonna access on.
Right, it has, Lot 2 does not have right of way on
Okay, that was my
Hollingsworth.
mistake.
But this Lot 1, the lot that the structure is on,
Mm-hmm.
will not have any additional access to 187th Street. And the barn's been there for 40,
long as I
50
can
years,
remember.
Removing a taxable entity. We just ask that you let it leave there either with the right-of-way dedicated and the right to keep it there till the road approved, or just don't ask for additional right-of-way there.
Well, if we take the right-of-way, then it's county right-of-way, so we've made a structure in the right-of-way.
All right.
And we really don't want to do that, I don't think.
Let's waive the right-of-way requirement. We'll support that.
Just on 187, or just,
Oh, on 187th, like I said, it already has 60 feet. I don't know the classification of the road. It could be it could have very low road count or trip counts. If it would ever fall under the PRP program as low maintenance, they wouldn't ask for additional right of way. So, just some thoughts.
well, I don't ever remember anybody having to tear down a structure just to build a house on additional right-of-way. I don't want to start that.
I think you could handle it as an existing non-compliant since it's there before the right-of-way. But the recommendation is to get the extra 20 feet of right-of-way. I wouldn't recommend waiving that because typically, even though Mr. Herring may be right that it's a low-volume road right now, we don't know that it'll always be a low-volume road. And 2, you typically take right-of-way equally from both sides of the road for property owners. It wouldn't be really fair to the other property owner to take all the right-of-way on their side and leave these guys harmless.
I don't think it's fair to any property owner to take your property and not pay you for it, but that's my opinion. But if we do waive the tearing down the structure, then we have a structure in county right-of-way.
Wouldn't be the only one in the county. And again, it's an existing non-compliant.
And it is fenced. So there is.
Yeah, it is
before
fenced.
you
It's,
get to the
the
structure.
right-of-way is fenced now. So, any thoughts, Commissioner?
Is this a high-volume road or heavily traveled?
Not at this time.
That's a gravel road.
What I thought.
Yeah, and it's close to an intersection, so it wouldn't be high speed. People would be slowing down.
No, and I can't even remember how far the road extends. I don't think it's that long of a stretch of road. So,
Yeah. You think taking the right of way and allowing the barn to stay is an option?
Well, I hate to have to tear the barn down.
Well, I do too, because they're paying taxes on it right now. We kind of like their money.
you have approved that in the past. Blazer Farms has a concrete well in county right of way.
Mhm.
And when the road's improved, he's agreed to remove that well at his cost during that time. So it's not like we haven't did this before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Think that's a good option, Mark, leaving the barn, taking the right of way and leaving the barn?
I think that's definitely an option. I would not waive the granting of the right-of-way because at some point in time, if we need it, we would have to come back in and purchase it. They're doing a split now. That's typical that we would request this from any property owner, so.
Okay. Well, as long as the structure stays, I mean, I know we're creating a structure in the right of way.
It's not like we're allowing them to build build a structure in an existing right-of-way. It's an existing structure that now falls within a new right-of-way, which would be kind of an existing non-compliant. We have several. We were just talking about one 2 weeks ago that's a very similar situation. In fact, it might be.
So
near
when
this
we
one.
take this barn and put it in the right of way, are we responsible for maintaining the barn being it's in the right of way?
No.
I mean, it's on county property, I guess we should maintain it too, but, well, was
I
that,
would move that we approve case number 17073074, but not require the tearing down of the barn.
I'll second that. Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a resolution with this one? Jeff, just to clarify, so that would be then handled like an existing non-compliant structure, correct?
Correct. Actually, this is a recommendation from Public Works, so I don't know what the justification behind it. I think it's something to do with the liability of for the county to leave that building in the right of way.
If we ever improve that road, we would probably be then responsible to pay for that barn if it had to be torn down. So that's probably why they're making the recommendation.
It can be addressed at that time.
Yes, it could be.
I don't think we gotta worry about it being approved anytime soon. Right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number DEB-17-075076, a preliminary and final plat for a one-lot subdivision to be known as Becker Acres. You can see they're outlined in blue, the area we're talking about. The applicant, like I said, is requesting a one-lot subdivision, which is called Becker Acres. Until recently, the subject parcel was part of a larger parcel that encompassed that parcel to the south of the home, The subject parcel was created by deed in early 2017, and the agricultural buildings were permitted prior to the land division. Additional accessory buildings will not be permitted until a single-family residential home is built, and all structures greater than 100 square feet require a building permit from Leavenworth County Planning and Zoning Department. Additionally, the county engineer has requested that a note go on the face of the plat that references resolution 2017-4 that states that no other driveways will be allowed on this one-lot subdivision. The driveway that was granted earlier this year is the only driveway that will be allowed. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 with one absent to recommend approval of case number DEB-177576, the preliminary and final plat for Becker Acres. And in those conditions, one was an exception to those structures that are currently on there. The applicant is Mr. Joe Meary, and he's of course here to answer the questions that you may have.
Mr. Herron, you have anything to add to this?
No, thank you.
Okay. You have anything, Commissioner?
No?
I'd say we need a motion then to approve.
I move approval of case number 17075076, preliminary and final plat.
I'll second. Voting?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Commissioners. This is case number 17-048, the special use permit for Camp Mount Herman, RV parking. There is a public hearing required for this case and a resolution as well. The Western Plains District of the Brethren owns a nonprofit campground. It's there highlighted in red. In the past, this campground has been reserved for church groups. The church has requested a special use permit to provide RV parking to the general public. That's why they're here, not to continue operating as a church use, but to open this RV park up to the public. The proposed use would allow up to 13 RVs to access the property, and the applicant indicates the use is primarily seasonal, with operations typically occurring from May 1st through October 31st. The proposed use to the public would only be permitted when camp is not in session, so you wouldn't have a camping session and the general public coming in at the same time. It would be one or the other. The property is accessed via driveway through an adjoining parcel, that parcel there to the north. that's located off of Parallel Road. The applicants have been unable to provide verification of an easement. However, they have provided an updated easement agreement that they're working on getting signed concurrently. Both Mr. Malnikoff and Mr. Van Paris, as of yesterday afternoon, have reviewed that proposed easement, and they are both happy with the way that it states. It defines the driveway that goes up through there. And the primary reason for this, of course, is to ensure that emergency services are able to get there if there's ever an accident, and for the general ingress and egress of the people who are attending the camp. This parcel was purchased back in the 1940s. It's been owned by the church since then, and the parcel to the north has been owned by the same family for over 70 years. So I think they always just kind of had a gentleman's agreement, but now that we're coming through to get a special use permit, we want to make sure that there is an official easement that's been recorded. So just to clear that up. The applicants provide potable water, sewage disposal, restroom facilities, and the RV pads. Food and beverages are not provided by the camp. The applicants indicate that alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and drugs are prohibited at the site. Due to the type of use, the operating hours are 24 hours a day. The applicants indicate that employees will be at the site on an as-needed basis, and the applicants are not requesting additional buildings or facilities at this time. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 with one member absent to recommend approval, subject to conditions. Mr. Ditmars is here, will answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Well, I guess we can open up the public hearing on this at this time. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this proposal? Okay. And we'll close this portion of public hearing. And this is pretty close to the state fishing lake.
Yeah.
So this would fit the area fine for as far as RV parking. So, do you have any questions, Commissioner?
Does it affect our road in any way?
No, sir, the traffic is minimal, so it's not that bad.
I mean, it's real close to the state fishing lake, so.
I move approval of case 17048, special use permit for Camp Mount Herman.
Second, voting.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
There's
Oh, that's right. What's our resolution number? I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-44.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, this next case is case number DEB-17-056, renewal for a special use permit for Superior Wood Products. The applicant and property owner is Roger White of Superior Wood Products. He is requesting the renewal of a special use permit for a custom cabinet shop located at 23467 195th Street. This business is located on a 10-acre parcel. It has been in operation for the past 15 years. The only change they're requesting is a change to the hours of operation. That change being from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday. The business employs 3 full-time employees and a few part-time positions as needed. The applicant has submitted an updated emergency safety plan as well as the certificate of liability insurance. To date, Planning and Zoning has yet to receive any complaints regarding this business or parcel. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 8-0 with one absent to recommend approval of case DEB-17-056, subject to 11 conditions. A public hearing is required and the applicant is here.
So the only thing that you're changing is the hour.
Just the hours of operation by half an hour. Very minimal.
We'll open up a public hearing on this. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this special use permit? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Is this a typical, oh, Roger?
Do I have a chance to make a comment?
You have a chance to talk as long as you want.
Good morning, Commissioners.
The only request I would like to make is, I've had a 10-year renewal in the past. I'm 53 now. If I get a 10, that'll put me at 63. If I could even get a 15, that'd put me into retirement, and I'm thinking I'm coasting then. But I'd like to request a 10 or 15-year permit if I could.
Well, he's already been there 15 years. We've never approved a 15, but I don't have a problem with it. Commissioner, we've done 10. He's been a, you know.
Commissioners, I would recommend 10 because that's what we've been doing previously. The
All right.
Planning Commission approves it for 5 years, and the Board of County Commission looks at it and reviews that, and then usually gives them 10 years if there are no complaints. So,
Well, he's been there 15. He hasn't had any complaints, so.
I would move that we grant the special use permit for a 15-year period.
You're still in the public hearing.
Yeah, we're still in a public hearing. I mean, is there any reason why we couldn't do 15? It's not going to break any state statute.
no, sir.
You know, as long as we don't want to make him tear his barn down, we'll be all right in 15 years.
We can work on that other one later.
Yeah, like I said, this one's a nice barn. Okay, all right. Well, anyone else wishing to speak? We'll close this portion of public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the special use permit for a custom cabinetry shop for Superior Wood Products for a period of 15 years.
Second. Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, I will update the resolution.
All right, thank you. Well, he has to update it first for 15 years.
Actually, you can approve
You
the
can do that.
resolution.
Go ahead and
then
approve
we'll
it.
check
All right, and I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2017-45.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Commissioners, the next case is case number DEV-17-057, special use permit renewal for Hayden Gun Shop. The applicants and property owners are Cecil and Jean Hayden. The property is located at 20319 State Avenue near Tonganoxie. They're requesting a renewal of the special use permit for a small limited business gun shop. The Haydens have been in operation for the past 15 years. The only change they're requesting for the special use permit renewal is to no longer sell ATVs. The business owners are the only employees of this business. The applicant has submitted an updated emergency safety plan. However, Planning and Zoning has yet to receive a copy of their certificate of liability insurance. Additionally, Planning and Zoning has yet to receive any complaints regarding this business or parcel. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval of case number DEV-17-057, subject to 10 conditions. The applicant is here today. The public hearing is here.
All right, we'll open up this public hearing for this special use permit. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this special use permit? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? I'd say this fits the 2440 corridor plan, is all that, so, and there hasn't been any complaints. I don't see any.
Well, I
So
don't
we'll-
either, only one question.
Okay.
Since they have not provided a copy of their certificate of liability, does that affect our voting on this?
It's part of the conditions, so they have to give us that before they can operate the business. So
It hasn't expired yet, has it?
no.
So they got till, it hasn't ran out. So before you renew, you'll have to have,
Before they can operate the business, at that time, then they have to provide that to us.
and that's like any other conditions of special use
Well, I was
permit, you
just
can
reading
pull
in
it.
here, it says the applicant has not provided a copy,
Mhm.
but you have an existing one in your possession.
At that time, when they renewed it last time, I don't think that was a requirement, so they don't have one right now.
Okay.
This is a new requirement, started 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
My name's Cecil Hayden, 20319 State Avenue.
Mhm.
This is Mr. Smith, I fell in between a rock and a hard place here.
I've been there.
I've had the place for 15 years.
Mhm.
I've never had to have this $100,000 worth of insurance. I contacted 3 different companies, and they flat said no. They don't know why I'm getting it. I don't build ammunition. I don't restructure guns in any way. I don't re-blue or any of that kind of stuff. I just have a gun shop with factory ammo in it.
Mhm.
Okay? Give you a matter, the last 3 months I've had 1 person come in. It's not hunting season.
Right.
I think hunting season's gone by anyway.
Yeah.
But for 15 years, I never had this, and I asked, could I get, my tenure for that and not have to have this?
Mhm.
And they told me I had to have it. I'm trying to get it, and I really am. But
Mhm.
you mentioned gun shop to insurance. No. There's one company in Lawrence that said they might do it. They want $5,500 a year to do this. If my insurance gets it, it's gonna be $2,500 a year. It's a small shop, man. It's hard to keep a business open doing this. All I'm asking for is a little leniency on this, and crap, I'm 70 years old, probably be dead in 10, so it's had to go away anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Is there a reason why we didn't request insurance the last time?
This is something that came up 5 years ago. Mr. Van Paris is the one who recommended this, so it's from the legal counsel. So I would defer that to Mr. Van Paris to.
And we don't have legal counsel here. He's over in court this morning.
Correct. It's been a requirement ever since. Every event, every special use permit, then we require that.
Mark, do you have any comment on this?
Oh, probably. I can understand the concern from the applicant, but it is in our code now. It is required. I would be hesitant to recommend a waiver without the advice of our legal counsel. So if it's
Okay.
something that the board is considering, I would recommend you table it.
Okay.
Extend the public hearing to a date certain of next week in order to give Mr. Van Paris an opportunity to review it and see if it's even possible to waive.
How
that.
soon does this special use permit run out, the current one?
That's fine. They're in the process, so they're fine with it. We can extend it to next week or in a couple of weeks. It's
Okay.
entirely fine.
All right, let's just table it for 2 weeks. We'll close this portion of public hearing now.
I think rather than close the public hearing, you could just recess it to 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
That way they can come back and have this discussion in the public hearing.
Okay, will that work for you? That give you some more time? We want to table this for 2 weeks so we can get some more information on this.
Well, Mr. Smith, if I could give you this is a
Sure.
letter from my insurance company.
Yeah.
He's been working on it since the second day that
Okay.
I had the first meeting. And he's saying he hopes he can get it, but he can't tell me positively he's gonna
Okay.
get it. I wish they could. You
Right.
know, I mean, I don't know what to do.
Well, unfortunately, we don't either, so we'll find out. Give us a couple weeks, and we'll revisit this.
Ain't no way I can be grandfathered for my 15 years. When I first got in it, the first 2 I didn't have to have it. The
Mhm.
third one I didn't have to have it. Now this is the 4th one. I gotta have it.
No, you've been there a long time.
Yeah, it's not a fresh place, you know.
Okay. We'll, give us a couple weeks,
Okay.
all right? We'll just table it to then. All right, thank you. We'll close this portion of our public hearing for the special use permit. We need a motion to table that, or just?
Can we table it to a
consensus?
specific
Yeah,
date?
you need a motion to extend the public hearing to.
So moved.
To date certain of, what would that be? What's
I
the-
move we table it for 2 weeks and this come back before us.
That'd be August the 10th, Commissioner.
That's right.
Second, voting?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
special use permit for a contractor's yard being requested by Mike and Sandy Crosby. This is a request to allow them to continue operating their business as they have been doing for the last several years. Again, this is just a renewal without any sorts of changes. Staff has visited the property and always found it to be well maintained, and all the items are stored inside except for one backhoe that gets stored outside of the shop, which has been an agreed upon condition for the last several years. There are no visitors who come to the property. Of course, Mr. Crosby does all of his work off-site. He does have up to 4 employees. They all have company-issued trucks. They don't go to the home on a regular basis. They go back about once a week on average to reload on supplies and equipment so that they can go back out and continue their work. Like I said, Mr. and Mrs. Crosby have operated Crosby Plumbing for this site for a number of years, and in that time, planning and zoning has had absolutely no complaints on the business or anything at all like that. The Planning Commission voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval of this, subject to conditions. Mr. Crosby is here, will answer any questions you may have, as will be. There is also a resolution and a public hearing required.
Okay, we'll open up the public hearing portion. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the special use permit for the contractor's yard? Yes, Mr. Crosby.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Melissa told me to be here at 9:08.
We've never been on time
We've
yet.
never been on time yet, so I don't know why we expect you to be. But-
For the record, it's the first time I've seen you in a tie. But,
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so this is like for 5 years, and like the other fella, I'd like to get it for 10 years.
Yeah, we can do that, I'm sure.
Cool.
You know,
That's all I
Jeff,
got.
like I said, Commissioner, he's just down the street from a convenience store gas station. He was across the street from used to be a farm supply, so he's kind of in a commercial area anyways. But
And there've been no complaints about this.
well, not that we know of. No, there's been no complaints. It's a well-kept property. So, and the applicant's asking for 10 years, so how many years you been there?
In business 14.
So he's already had almost 15 years of good service.
Okay, I'll go 15.
Yeah, well, almost 15, I mean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But he's probably operating out there before you got your first special use permit.
Well, let's stay on the subject.
Yeah. But that's fine. We're good, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, anyone wishing to speak opposition to this special use permit? Then we'll close this portion of public hearing.
Chairman, I would move that we approve a special use permit for a contractor's yard, Crosby Plumbing, for a 10-year period.
Second, voting.
Aye.
Aye.
And there's a resolution.
Oh, that's right. Make a motion, we pass resolution 2017-46.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, next case is case number DED-17-067, special use permit for an in-home daycare. The applicant is Ashley Meyer with Sowing Seeds Daycare. She's requesting this daycare at her home at 15126 Meadow Lane, Bonner Springs in the Tanglewood subdivision. The business will be located in the basement of her home. She is currently authorized to care for up to 9 children according to KDHE regulations. She has a temporary permit from the Leavenworth County Health Department and is in the process of becoming a registered daycare. The business will operate during the Baser Linwood academic school year. Children are dropped off shortly after 8 a.m. and picked up by noon. The applicant has indicated that she would like to place a 5x5 wooden sign for the business along her driveway near the property line. The applicant has submitted an emergency safety plan and a copy of her certificate of liability insurance policy. Today, Planning and Zoning has yet to receive any complaints regarding this parcel. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval. Case 7, subject to 11 conditions. The applicant is here, a public hearing is required as well as a resolution.
Okay. We'll open up the public hearing part for the special use permit for the daycare. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Good morning, I'm Ashley Meyer. I'm at 15126 Meadow Lane in Bonner Springs, and I was just going to ask, since everybody else is requesting a 10 and a 15-year permit, I just thought maybe I would ask for a 10-year instead of a 5-year permit.
All right. Now,
But I do understand that I am new.
Mhm.
I am a new permit as well.
all
Any
right.
questions you have?
Now, Tanglewood does not have a homeowner association or anything that would have any
Correct.
rules against this sign?
Correct.
Okay.
That's something that they have to check and make sure.
Okay. Because it is a subdivision. I
We
don't
do
know if they have
not.
an HOA.
We do not have an HOA, any HOA fees or
Okay.
anything. It's just a typical subdivision.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of the older subdivisions in the county. Any thoughts, Commissioner?
Well, I'm reading line 8. No signage is allowed in the right-of-way. What do we do about that, Jeff?
Unless you couldn't.
Yeah, the signage will be placed inside the property, not in the right of way.
Okay. I have no problem.
Okay.
This is a new
This is
daycare.
new, and I don't know, typically, we've only granted tenure for renewals.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So I think this one would kind of start out with the 5, and then if everything works good, when the renewal, we can offer 10. That's my thought, but,
Well, I agree. I move approval.
well, we'll have to ask for opposition. Anyone here in opposition of this daycare? Seeing none, we'll close this portion of public hearing, return to regular session.
I move approval of the application for a special use permit for a daycare facility, Sowing Seeds Daycare, for a 5-year period, located at 15126 Meadow Lane, Bonner Springs.
Second, voting.
Aye.
Aye. I make the motion, we approve resolution 2017-47.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
Morning, Chairman.
Morning.
Morning, Commission. This is a request for a special use permit for case number DEB-17-051 for a 150-foot monopole communication tower on a parcel approximately 75.9 acres. It is located at the northeast corner of 174th Street and Donahue Road. The Planning Commission's recommendation, they voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval of case number DEB-17-051 for a special use permit for a communication tower subject to the following 15 conditions. The applicant is here to answer any questions along with us. Public hearing is required, and there is a resolution.
Okay. We'll open up the public hearing portion. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this cell tower?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman. Vincent O'Flaherty on behalf of the applicant. All the conditions are agreeable to the applicant. The only thing I want to mention is there is an airfield. There's been an objection, a private airfield that's nearby. One of the conditions is that we've got to comply with all the laws and regulations, including those of the FAA, which we're going to do, and this tower will be used consistent with the FAA requirements. So I wanted you to know that, but we'd ask that you approve this.
Okay. Now, I guess if the FAA requires you to move it one way or the other, is that what we're?
Well, we've got to be in compliance with all the laws,
Right.
and if the FAA
Okay.
requires something, we'll do
Yeah.
it.
And I'm sure this was a strategic plan. This is exactly where this tower needs to be the most beneficial, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. I mean, it just wasn't something you just poked a pin on the map. I'm sure there was a lot of thought that went into where this goes.
There has been, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this project?
I would like to hand out with one for you and one for you. I'm going to read my points.
Okay, could we have your name and address?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Irene Torp. I live at 21631 172nd Street, Basehor, Kansas. The points I'd like to make, I am not against a communication tower. We need more of them in the county. And I've given you the handouts, and I'd like to go over point by point the presentation that the Planning Commission made. Under the Planning Commission recommendations, item 14, it says the special use permit shall comply with federal regulations and rules. And if you see the copy of the email, they do require an aeronautical study. And I'm just here to be sure that you're aware of the proximity of this tower to an operational lighted 2,200-foot airstrip with a windsock. It is on the aeronautical charts shown as new field. In the request for board action on page 2 of their special use permit, it says there's no mention of an airfield. Under factors to be considered, there's also no mention of an airfield on adjacent tract of land. Item 4, my property will be decreased in value. My property has an easement for the use of the airfield. This is part of the price we paid for the property when we purchased it. And item 6, safety and welfare. There is a chance of an aircraft hitting the tower. Is the county requiring liability insurance? And item 7, what conditions? Under staff analysis, the impact. There's no light on the tower to let aircraft know tower is there. And under complaints, page 3 of your resolution, it says staff has not received any complaints to date. That is not true. I told Ms. Johnson that I was going to appear before the County Planning and Zoning, which I did on July 12th, and expressed my objection to the tower due to its proximity to new field. Item 14. Again, the recommendation states the special use permit shall comply with all local, state, and federal rules and regulations. I would like to present also a copy of a plat map, and you can pass this around if you want. In here, this is a plat of property to the north of our field. And in here, it says the lots in this subdivision are partially in the glide path of a private airport runway and are therefore subject to maximum structure height elevation within the glide path band. These elevations are shown on each lot. So if you restricted that to the north of our airfield, why do you not have a restriction to the south of our airfield? And this was platted in 2001, I believe. Would you
Is
like
that
see
would
this?
have been Mr. Hill's property?
Yes.
Okay.
And the property that this was platted on the 171st Street, north of Hollingsworth.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Was that the FAA's regulations or the county? Would the FAA been involved with that?
Yeah, this special use permit meets all the regulations of the county, so that's why we're bringing it forward. Anything to do with the airfield, it's under the jurisdiction of the FAA, so they have to get approval from FAA too. So that's part of the condition, that's why it says they have to abide by all the federal regulations.
Okay, but the plat she has, was that the county said that, or was that the FAA?
That's the county, but that's within the plat. It restricts anything happening outside the plat.
Yeah, I'm
Am I
sure
to
it was
gather
added
from-
to that plat. When they did the review, they probably did exactly what's being proposed here, which is they need to e-file their, for an aeronautical study. And when they did that, the FAA probably made a recommendation that that be included in, so the county put that on the plat so any future owners would be aware of it.
Okay.
That would be my estimation on that, because that sounds like pretty specific language, and it has actual height requirements by property, which would come from the FAA, clearly not the county. So I would suspect that once they get their aeronautical study done, the FAA will come in with those recommendations.
Okay. So,
But right now, we do not have approval from the FAA. Is that right?
No, right, at this time, no, I'd like to ask the applicant that. I don't know what the process is.
okay. Yeah. Could they speak on that?
Hi, Paul Replica with MW Towers. Offices are at 3864 West 75th Street. We're aware that we have to e-file, and we're stating that we'll be in compliance with FAA requirements. So if the FAA says, no, you can't build the tower because of this field, then our filing will go away. But we don't believe that to be the case based on the airstrip and where we're putting it.
Okay. I mean, could they make a recommendation, you move it one way or the other, and that won't mess up your plans?
They don't typically make the recommendation to move it. They'll either reject it or they'll approve it.
Just approve or deny?
Yes, and we would submit our determination from the FAA with our building permit.
This board doesn't have any control over the FAA. So
Well, how do we grant a special use permit pending a ruling from the FAA?
They won't receive the building permit, so before they get the building permit, they have to get all the items on here. All the conditions have to be complied with.
Okay.
It's just like any of the other conditions that are on there. Until they meet all of those conditions, the SUP is not, or the conditional use permit is not approved. So you approve it based on those conditions. If they fail to comply with even one of those conditions, then they can't move
It'll go
forward.
away. And if the FAA denies it, then the special use permit will go away. It's not applicable.
And on the property to the north, was that on the, in the parcel file that it was, like in the airstrip, within the zone of a certain zone of an airstrip, when they did the plat on that property to the north?
No.
Okay. And then I'm sure the property that this tower is on, or proposed site, does not have anything on the parcel file that it's
That's it.
next to an airstrip.
Again, the FAA will be looking at all that, and I'm sure that they'll only approve it if it's safe.
Okay. And how many years do you typically approve a tower?
It's 25 years.
Yeah.
How many?
25.
Can I have further comment?
Yes.
They say that they're going to follow the FAA requirements. What is my assurance that they're going to do that? There's no mention in their resolution that they presented to you of the airfield. The only thing they're saying is they'll follow the rules and regulations. What is my assurance that they are going to follow and contact the FAA?
I'm sure Mr. Joseph will follow up on that, the planning director.
Yeah, we cannot issue a building permit unless they get all the approvals from FAA, so at that
I
time.
think her concern is that there won't be any mention of an airstrip, but if it's a registered airstrip,
Yeah, they
they'll
know.
know about it. They'll know about it.
That was discussed during the planning and zoning meeting. In looking through the minutes, they actually brought that up specifically.
Can you not delay the action until you receive some sort of approval or disapproval from, or information
Well,
from the FAA?
If they don't receive that, then they will not be issued a building permit. That's pretty much the way it stands now.
Right now, they meet all the county requirements.
They
so-
meet all the county requirements, okay. This board has absolutely no control over towers if they're federal. If they come in and say we need a tower right here, there's nothing this board can do to stop it.
Well,
We've been down that road recently. I believe it was last year. I believe there was a tower issue and a lot of opposition, and it basically,
We just had.
we have no say. Where they say they need a tower, that's where they do it. And like I said, the FAA is the only one that could maybe would stop that because they control all the airspace.
is the county going to require that they have liability insurance?
That's per the, it's legally not possible, so I would defer that to your legal counsel. We cannot require them to submit any kind of liability insurance. There's a,
That's a state law.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's-
state or federal.
there's a lot of laws for communication towers, so.
We can't require any liability insurance?
No, sir.
Not on communication towers. The state, I don't even know, is probably 7 or 8
federal.
years ago, the state adopted rules on, because of the communication factor of it, they adopted statutes that limit our ability to have any input, and then the federal government did as well. So we're.
Seems funny to me that you can require liability insurance for a little gun shop for millions of dollars, but for this tower that might cause an airplane to fly into it, you can't have a regulation for that,
Yeah.
requirement for that. You know,
Like I said, this is above our pay grade, I guess. I mean, I've seen last year's tower unfold, and basically it was nothing the county could do.
Yeah, as long as they meet all the county
Right,
regulations.
as long as they meet the county, and you
can
cannot.
in your special use permit require them to put a light at least on it?
Once again,
That's all required by the federal regulations as well. I'm sure they have a light on top of the tower.
Well,
It's based on height.
It says that it won't be lighted. On your form, there's no lighting.
FAA requires that based on height.
If the FAA requires lighting, we'll happily comply with that, but we will do the e-filing and the FAA will run the air study. We've already done an independent air study and we've talked to our consultant about it, and
I believe the lighting is required if it's more than 200 feet.
more than 200 feet, but given this field and our proximity to it, we're 3,000 feet away. Their airspace is about 2,500 feet for their glide path.
They might require you to.
It'll be up to the FAA.
If we built a taller tower, they would require lighting, but I don't believe they'll require lighting. And do you have a lot of night landings coming in?
We have a lighted field.
I understand that, but that's not the question.
I can't tell you how many lighted and how many landings we have at night, but there is other air traffic. There's another small airfield north of us. And, people fly over, come over to visit us. So I just am concerned about the safety of people that might approach our airfield.
I understand, and it's a visual field. It's not an instrument-rated field,
That's right.
so.
It's a grass strip.
yes, sir, Mr. Scheller.
Can I make a comment?
You sure can.
My name is Larry Scheller, 17476 Donahue Road. I am the trustee of the farm that my folks own. I don't know anything about, I know the tower's proposal is about where the 57 is, in the 1457 location, and the Torx property is located all the way up in the brown box at the top of the map, and it's completely surrounded by tall trees. In fact, this time of year when it's green outside, you can't even see Mrs. Tork's house because there's so many trees up there right in front of this airfield. But the main point I wanted to make is this is new field. Wes New started this field years ago. He has since passed away. His son has a hangar next to the Torch property, and I'm sure he uses it, but I don't see any of the news here in protest to this tower that is actually their field. Now, yes, she has an easement. I don't deny that, and she has every right to come up here and protest it. But it seems funny to me that the actual owners of the field, and I think, isn't he a pilot?
Yes, Rick is.
If he was, yeah, I thought he was. If the actual owners of the field were concerned about this tower, why aren't they here in protest saying the world's going to come to an end if this tower is approved? That's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schiller.
I would like to reply to Mr. Schiller.
Yes.
He says he can't see my house. First of all, it's an earth contact house, so it's below level. We are on the west side of the property. We're not out by the road, so people can't see our house from the road. Mr. New did pass away. His son, Rick, built a large metal hangar there. Rick is a commercial airline pilot, and he flies out of Newark, New Jersey, I believe. So he's not at his home very often. We do have people who visit. We have a lot of small aircraft friends who visit. We also had a balloon land at our field, and ultralights land at the field. So I just think that there's someplace better than within straight south of our field of putting a tower.
Well, I think we found that out on the last tower, that where they said the tower needs to go, that's where it needed to go. There wasn't no shifting it one way or the other on the 175th Street, I believe. And that's going to pretty much line up with this one too, isn't it? So I'm pretty sure they're strategically laid out to bounce off of one another. So.
Can I request that the Planning and Zoning Committee send me a copy of the FAA approval or disapproval?
I'm sure that would be a matter of an open record.
Yeah, they'll have to provide it to us as part of the application.
They'll have to provide it for the county.
So
if it's provided to you, you'll send it to me? I appreciate that.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Then we'll close this portion of the public hearing on the tower. You want to make a motion on that, approve with the
We're approving this, and we have no control over the tower whatsoever.
No, sir.
they've met our
It meets the counties, and the only thing we have control over would be if FAA denies this, that we do not issue a permit. That is the only control we would have. But if the FAA approves it, then they get a permit.
I move approval.
Second. Voting.
Aye.
Aye.
It's a resolution.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2017-48.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye. Next. Another tower.
Chairman, Commissioners, this would be case number DED-17-052 for a 150-foot monopole communication tower on a parcel that is approximately 160 acres. The location of this is 25112 211th Street, Leavenworth, Kansas. The Planning Commission voted for recommended approval for 8-0 with one absent for case number DEB-17-052 for a special use permit for a communication tower subject to the following 15 conditions. Applicant is still here and we will answer your questions. This does require a public hearing and it does have a resolution.
Okay. We'll open up the public hearing portion of this. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this project?
Nothing further, Chairman?
Nothing strange about this one? Okay. All right. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this project? Then we'll close this portion of the public hearing, return to regular session.
I move approval of the application for communication tower, case number 17052.
Second, voting.
Aye.
Aye. And I move approval of Resolution 2017-49.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye. Anything else before us at this time? All right, thank you.
Just have the work session.
We'll adjourn, motion to adjourn the regular county commission meeting.
Did Janet want to bring up, thought she was going to come up with,
Oh, yeah, we need a resolution passed on local service.
Yes, she just stepped out. You give her just a minute.
Okay, no, we can't adjourn just yet.
I thought she was also going to bring up a budget request.
Yeah, we do have a work session.
Yeah, we have a work session, but we need to pass this resolution for the local service mill levy.
Yeah, I can probably give enough information on it. The local service mill levy has to be established via resolution so that we can move forward with then presenting the budget in its entirety. The proposal is to maintain the current mill levy for the local service road, no proposed increase. And we just ask that the board consider adopting that resolution. Anything to add? I tried to cover it.
So you passed it on,
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. See, we have the road and bridge and local service. We want to keep local service flat. So,
That's what this resolution will do, as Mark said, is keep that at current mill levy.
okay.
Really, as a matter of fact, the levy will probably go down because I suspect our valuation will increase. But with the current valuation and expenditures, we now have it set at same as last year.
Okay. Well, that's our hope, that local service gains more money so we can spend it on the secondary roads. So, you need a motion to approve
I need a
resolution?
motion to approve resolution
2017-50.
50. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2017-50.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
Aye. Now we can have a motion to adjourn and go into regular work session.
Are we going to do 6.08?
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Second.
voting,
Aye.
aye. And now we will enter into a budget work session.